What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. We're here breaking down the 9-game NBA slate here on Friday night. Pretty substantial injury news already coming in. The Warriors basically resting all their key guys. We have Jokic questionable, Donovan Mitchell also questionable. So a lot of news that we're waiting on. LeBron questionable as well. So slate could change with one bit of news. Already has, obviously, with the Warriors situation, could change again. A little bit of a different crew here on Friday. Our guy CDome has something going on, so he's not with us. But DC and his nice-looking mustache has joined us. So DC, what's going on over there?
Not too much. Yeah, happy to be on the Friday show and counting down the days over here till the NFL playoffs this weekend. Really looking forward to it. I think all 4 games are going to be good ones, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple upsets happen during the playoffs. So, one more day of basketball, and then it's on to the main event, but certainly a good 9-game NBA slate here. And the Warriors situation obviously is kind of the key talking point on this slate, resting Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green. They've already missing some guys due to injury. So, normally in situations like this, you're just kind of loading up the wagons on who's ever left, but this is a tough spot going into Cleveland, a really good team, really good defensive team, slow-paced game. So, and, the guy that you kind of project to step into the lead scoring role, Jordan Poole, is not cheap, right? So I do think there's a lot of talking points in that game. Of course, we'll get to all the rest of it as well.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. I mean, it's usually a jam-it-in spot, but Poole hasn't been ruled out. He played 43 minutes last night. Are they going to push him tonight? So it is a tricky situation. I mean, usually these situations are very easy, and like I said, you kind of just jam it in, but this one's much different than we, typically see in these spots. As always, though, we got our guy JT with us, and he's at the home base. It's usually about 50-50, I'd say, in terms of is JT on the road or is JT at home? Tonight, he is at home. So, JT, what's going on over there?
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I traveled until I started taking note every time that I had to jump on one of these, whether I was home or away, whether I was doing the Monday NFL show or doing these NBA shows, the baseball shows, and I'm like, Jesus, I travel a lot. So yeah, it's good to be home. It was nice out today. As you guys know, I have a 3-year-old female pug. She's great. She's a little bit aggressive. So I wanted to take her out and do something nice today, but I didn't want to take her where there were cars because she'll try and chase them and kill herself. So we went to the dog park. I was a little bit disappointed by the crowd at the dog park. Nothing really to look at, which is unusual for this time of year in Atlanta. And, but she had a great time. She's very stubborn, so she likes to be walked. And, if it's late at night, we try and get her to go to the bathroom in the backyard. She'll just stare at you. Within 5 minutes, she had taken a shit the size of a McDonald's, Big Mac, peed 3 times, and she was off to the races. So it was a good Friday. It is an interesting slate. And already, I love it because you never know. I never know when I come on with DC if we're going to agree or completely disagree. And I like it because I'm already in agreement with what he said here with the Warriors spot, where I think there's a couple of really interesting chalk spots here that are definitely not, the more you dig into the situation, as clear cut as they seem, and actually maybe pretty good fades on this slate. So I think it's a good slate to get different, very, very interesting tournament slate, and some under-owned pieces that just aren't going to be owned, but we'll get into all that. It's good to be here with you guys. And good to see DC, who Mike P says looks like Mario or Luigi from the video game. And I don't know. I mean, with the red hat, it is a red hat that Mario wears. I think Luigi wears the green one, but I like it. It's cold in Denver. He's got to keep something up there to warm himself
I've heard the Mario a couple times throughout the week. I've also heard the Uncle T comparison, which, I'll go with Mario on that one.
Mario or Uncle T. So I'm assuming the things that you're looking for at the dog park are similar things that I would be looking for at the regular kid park, correct?
Yeah, I mean, these young, attractive females like to have companions, and they like to take them out and care for them. And today, it was a bunch of 65-year-old men asking me about my dog, and I'm like, I'm not in the mood to talk to you. So
no thanks.
One guy credit, because Quinn wears a pink harness, of course, and he looked and he's like, "Oh, how old is he? Oh, no, it's a she." And I was like, "Hey, all right, you get points, but we're out of here."
Yeah. Yep. So as someone that's, obviously worked from home for, 8 years now, and flexibility of taking the kids to the park in the middle of the afternoon. It's usually a very scenic trip for a dad at the park with his kids. And that is very disappointing when you go there and you don't get the scenery that you're hoping for. So sorry to hear that. Maybe next time, I'm sure next time things will turn around for you. Couple shout outs.
I didn't get to go to the gym today. So it was like, I didn't get that. And then there was nothing. And it was just tough.
Yeah, just brutal run out. Well, hopefully you're going to run Pierre tonight in the NBA streets. How about that to make up for it? Our guy Junior ran Pierre last night. A big win for him. What was it? A $3,500 win for Junior, a loyal member here at Run Pierre, always in the YouTube chat. So I see him in there right now. Junior, congratulations. Nice hit for you for sure. Looking to get some more, obviously, of those hits tonight. Before we get into it, me and DC were talking some Underdog drafts before. Did they just rerun a new contest, like starting from here on out? I'm assuming, because for some reason can't play in Michigan, which makes no sense.
Yeah, they got 3 different price levels. $5 one, which they did just open a new one. They've already filled a couple of those. I think that has 30,000 up top, and then a $25 one, which is getting close to filling. I've got a number of entries in that one, and then a $250 as well. So those are the 3 options. I'm guessing that $5 one will fill within the next few hours maybe, and they might run one more before the game start tomorrow. So yeah, good action over there for sure.
Yeah, so we got that partnership going with Underdog. If you haven't, get over there, sign up, use the promo code RunPierre, or grab our link and sign up through the link. You get a deposit match of up to $100 on your first deposit. And, kind of, I'd say soft competition. There is an edge if you draft teams properly. People, I think, probably a little confused by the format, kind of just drafting their, best overall team, which, in the best ball format, you have to have correlation. And, based on your tweet, I'm assuming a lot of people are drafting improperly.
Yeah, when I look through the teams that I draft against, these are 6-person drafts, and typically at least one, sometimes 2 or 3 teams are like literally drawing dead to win the overall prize. They're basically drafting like they're trying to get out of round 1, and of course you do need to survive round 1. You got to finish first in your group, but a huge percentage of the overall prize pool goes to the Super Bowl week, right? So you got to make sure you've got at least 5 players in there. And oftentimes you can give yourself multiple routes to get there. Obviously like the ideal is to get, 5 players from 2 teams on opposite sides, one NFC, one AFC. But even when that goes wrong, if you're smart about it and if you've thought about it, you can pivot and always make yourself live, where it does seem like some people, if things don't go exactly like they planned, they'll just kind of give up and start picking off the top of the ADP list. So I do think the format is good. You got to be also willing to take some risks. I mean, I think people assume that the favorites in the 4 games are just automatically going to win, and it's just not the case. I mean, I think any of these teams, even the Jaguars, I think they're at least capable of potentially pulling off the upset against the Chiefs. So you got to be willing to take some risks on those for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I mean, I remember back this weekend last season when there was 8 teams left, and the games were just not as appealing. I believe the Titans were still in it. The Packers were pretty rough, and they were still in it. I mean, these games, all 4 of these games, I think are entertaining, and I'm with you. I think every team's live. I mean, do I think the Jaguars are going to win?
Of course not. Yeah.
No, but I think they're live. If the game plays out a certain way, I think they have a chance to win. If I'm betting, am I going to bet the Chiefs to win the game? Absolutely. But again, I think these teams are live to advance, and I'm looking forward to the games.
The Jaguars should be able to move the ball, right? And if you can move the ball, then you've got a chance. Like you're saying, sometimes you get teams in this stage of the playoffs that their offense just has no hope. And all the offenses here, I think, have some hope. So it should be a really, really fun weekend.
Yep, definitely looking forward to it. Again, get over to Underdog, use that promo code RunPierre. All right, we got 9 NBA games. We'll go ahead and hop into it. Do us that favor, though. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Helps us to continue to bring you guys these shows for free on a daily basis. We'll have NFL shows this weekend as well, tomorrow morning and Sunday morning. So make sure you tune into both of those as well. We have a pay-per-view card for UFC 283. Title's got that playbook up, and I believe is he doing a show? Or are you guys doing a show?
Yeah, no show this week. Wasn't on the schedule. So
that's a bummer.
I assume it was because of the NFL playoffs.
NFL playoffs, yeah.
Trying to squeeze it in there.
Yeah. The playbook is, I think I checked it out this morning. Title's working on that, so we'll have all the winners in there. And as always, if you remember at Run Pier, you get access to all our content. It's not sport by sport. So get on over there, check it out. Let's get into the slate. We got 9 games. First one, we have the Pelicans. We have the Magic, 228.5. Total in this game. Pelicans favored by 2. And there is some injury news that we're kind of waiting on. Herb Jones and Najee Marshall both questionable, and that's honestly pretty substantial for the Pelicans, who are already without Ingram and Valanciunas. So we need to see Najee's a guy I've been playing. I mean, you're getting a lot of minutes. The production's been solid. It's fallen off a little bit lately, but if he's in there, I definitely have interest in him. CJ McCollum, the price has come down a little bit. I think you can make the case there. And then Valanciunas, if they're going to be without Murphy, Marshall, maybe we get more minutes from him. I mean, the minutes seem to be capped in the upper 20s. Did have a 34-minute game against Cleveland. Production's been pretty good, 59.5, 43, 30 fantasy points in his last 3. He's going to be a guy, I think, either way that we want to look at. And then on the Magic side, just a team I typically don't play all that much, and it works out for the most part. Wendell Carter Jr., though, 6.2K is the only guy I think I'd be considering on the Magic side. But yeah, definitely need this news. It is the standalone 7 p.m. Eastern game. I don't think there's any must plays in this game. If there's news we're waiting on, we don't have at this point, I'd be fine just staying away from this one. We'll go to you first, JT. Thoughts here, Pelicans, Magic.
Yeah, pretty completely aligned with you. Wendell Carter Jr., the one guy whose price point kind of jumped out to me in this matchup without Zion, potentially without a couple of those other big bodies in there, especially if you get Najee and Jones ruled out, or at least one of them, because that means that Larry Nance at 3,400 is probably going to play, and that's a very good matchup for Wendell Carter. On the Pelican side, same thing. If those guys are out, it's big for Murphy at 4,800, Valanciunas at 6'8", and then, like I said, Larry Nance at 3,400 is an interesting pivot from some of the other people in the 3K range that I think Nance, based on his per-minute fantasy production in this matchup, if those guys are out, is a pretty good play here at 3,400.
Yep. So kind of in alignment there, JT and myself. DC 3 for 3, or anything else kind of standing out to you in this one?
Yeah, definitely 3 for 3. I think Jonas Valanciunas is the best play in this game. They've, at the beginning of the season, they just weren't willing to give him the minutes unless they had to, right? Unless like Larry Nance, and they were missing some other bigs. But especially with Zion and Ingram out, it does seem like they're relying on him more. And it's hard to find that level of upside at that $6,800 price point, right? Like he's a live player to get you 50+ fantasy points. There's not very many of them below 7K that can realistically do that. You never know if the minutes are going to be there, right? It's really, really hard to predict, but they have been more recently, and I like this matchup for him. I mean, Orlando does play pretty big, right? Like they're giving significant minutes to Wendell Carter, Bol, Mo Wagner. You'll see Mo Bamba out there. And so I do think New Orleans likely to respond in kind, but like those guys are kind of soft defenders, right? For a big Jovel, like, I mean, kind of skinny guys, younger guys. Like it seems like he could potentially have his way down on the block. So I am in on Jovel. I do think I like the Larry Nance call out from JT. Don't play them together because they are directly competing for those 48 center minutes. But, if they decide to go with Nance, if Jovel gets in foul trouble or something happens there, blowout, whatever it is, it should be Nance out there for all the minutes that Jovel is not. So, yeah, if you're playing multiple lineups, make sure to split those guys up. But I do think both guys pretty reasonable plays. And, on the Orlando side, Wendell Carter, just another guy who does have upside for his price point. Don't particularly love the matchup or anything, but you can't ignore him at 6,200 if you're making multiple teams.
Yep. Next game up, Warriors, Cavs, 219.5 total. Cleveland favored by 11. And as we already talked about, the reason they're favored by 11, Warriors resting all their guys. And our guy, Captain, got to give him a shout out. A guy that, kind of works behind the scenes here, put out a good tweet, and I agree with him. I mean, just imagine if you're a Cleveland fan here, not a Cleveland fan, if you live in the Cleveland area and you're a Warriors fan and you want to see Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, some of the most popular guys in the NBA, spend a shit ton of money on tickets because the tickets in the NBA are not cheap whatsoever. I'm assuming this is their only trip to Cleveland this season. And come to find out, you're going to be watching Dante DiVincenzo, Anthony Lamb, Kuminga, and Kevon Looney instead of Draymond, Stephen Curry, and Klay Thompson. It's just a shitty thing to do. I mean, it's an ongoing issue in the NBA. I'm sure there's nothing they can do about it. But just, man, that's just family of four going to an NBA game, paying full price for tickets. You're looking at a 4-figure night. You're spending $1,000 for tickets, parking, food, drinks. Man, I really do feel bad for those people. But in terms of DFS tonight, it is weird because, DC, you brought it up. It's like, man, you go to any projection site, these guys aren't popping. So I think the expectation for the most part is they're going to play all these guys probably just a little bit. And I don't know, like Jordan Poole, if they are coming out to win this game, Jordan Poole's probably a good play, but I just don't think they're going to push him after playing 43 minutes last night in that loss to Boston. It's just a unique spot in the NBA DFS. These are the spots, you love. You see a Giannis ruled out or something. All right, we're playing Bucks, as many Bucks as possible. Get this whole Warriors team out. I still don't really know who I want to play. I guess probably DiVincenzo, Ty Jerome would be my two favorites. But, man, it just doesn't feel comfortable, to be honest with you. So, DC, talk to me about the situation here.
Yeah, I mean, the game will, assuming he does indeed play, Jordan Poole will kind of start the game as like a true number one option. But we have seen the Warriors do this a few times throughout the year, and Poole, for the most part, I don't think has really absolutely crushed it. And he's typically been cheaper than the $7,900 price tag he carries tonight. He has been really good recently, and I do think there's a chance for him to have a big game here, right? Like the Warriors still do want to win games despite kind of pulling the plug on all their guys. Like they still are very much battling for the West, for playoff seeding, all that stuff. So I think if Poole and the Warriors start out hot, which, you don't expect, but it's the NBA. It happens all the time where unexpected outcomes happen. I think if they start out hot, you could potentially see a really big game from Jordan Poole. When I first saw all those guys were ruled out, I kind of expected Poole, DiVincenzo would end up with big ownership. It's not looking like it. Like you said, they're not popping in projections. So my initial reaction was not to fall for what I would kind of think would be bad chalk in Jordan Poole. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know, if I'm playing multiple teams, he's going to be 5 to 10% owned. I think he's got a higher percentage chance than that to have a big game. So, if I'm playing one or two teams, I'm not going there. If I'm playing Poole, I'm probably going to pair him with DiVincenzo, right? I think they need big games out of both of them to possibly compete in this game. But my expectation is things go the Cavs' way early. This is an awesome defensive team. And Kerr pulls the plug on both Poole and DiVincenzo early. If that happens, I think it will be Ty Jerome off the bench, most likely, who plays most of those minutes. I mean, somebody's got to be out there. And he has had some really good performances off the bench in situations like these. He's 3K, so he can't hurt you much. I do think he's locked into, 20 minutes probably at the minimum. Maybe that's a little high, and then potential for a lot more. So I do like him at 3K. I think Moses Moody at 3K is an okay play as well. And then even some of the bigs, they are getting Kuminga and JaMychal Green back who have been out for a while. So that does complicate things. But, even a guy like Patrick Baldwin at 3K, he's going to be unowned, but has actually been a pretty damn good fantasy point per minute producer. He's someone that if this game gets out of hand, I would think that he would just kind of have to be minutes because they got to still finish the game and have 5 guys out there. So really tricky situation here. I'm looking at the cheap guys, though, for Golden State. They can't hurt you nearly as much, and the upside is higher too, right? Because Poole at 8K or 7.9K carries obviously a ton of risk, and he's got to have a huge game anyway at that price point to get there in the end. So I do lean toward the Warriors cheap guys. Cavs side in this one, probably not going to much. I kind of think they'll use more guys too. And my expectations is that the Cavs kind of control this game. Obviously, if Donovan Mitchell is out, you can go to a guy like Garland or Karis LeVert if you want to.
Yeah. Yep. And that 7:30 Eastern game, so probably have this news prior to lock. Evan Mobley has been playing a lot of minutes the last couple, 39, 38, coming off one of his best games of the season, 45 fantasy points, 6.4K. I don't really hate him all that much. And again, if Mitchell's out, all those guys would get a boost, and this game becomes way more appealing. JT, will toss it over to you. Any thoughts here, Warriors and Cavs?
Yeah, I think, DC kind of broke it down perfectly in terms of we don't really know. And these are good situations to generally avoid unless you're doing 150. If you don't really know where the production is going to go. I'm a little bit higher on DiVincenzo just because he's been coming off the bench lately. So this is an opportunity for him to get some run here. So I think DiVincenzo actually is probably my favorite play, 5,100 on DraftKings. And then Jared Allen at 6,500 is just too cheap for this matchup. He was playing very, very well. Had a down game last game out. I think it was against Toronto, I think. I think it might have been against Toronto, one of those teams. But 6,500 on DraftKings for Allen. I like him quite a bit, especially you're going to see like 10 to 15 minutes maybe of Kevon Looney. So, he's just going to start to keep his game streak going. I don't think you're going to see a whole hell of a lot of him. The other thing that DC mentioned too is they're getting Kuminga back, they're getting Green back, you've got Lamb. So what are the minute restrictions going to be on these guys? It's just a really, really difficult situation to project.
Like the Jared Allen call, I mean, playing a lot of minutes, 38, 34, 37, 36, 49 fantasy point game, 34, 52. And then the down game was against Memphis. He only had 27. Yeah. A lot of upside for 6.5K. Go ahead.
I'll say this.
From a really tough matchup against Memphis to this matchup against Golden State, that honestly he should be able to get whatever he wants.
Yeah. If Mitchell is ruled out, at that point on both sides of the ball where the production is going to come from. If this game does, if it is 120 to 115, stranger things have happened. I think on the Golden State side, it would be likely Poole and DiVincenzo that have the big games. And then on the Cavs side, I mean, it's going to be Garland, LeVert, Mobley, and Allen, right? They really don't have much else. I guess maybe Kevin Love, but you could see a potential game stack here getting there with all the cheap pieces and knowing where the production is going to come from.
Yep. All right, we'll keep it moving. Next game up, Knicks, Hawks, 229.5 total. Atlanta favored by 3 in this game, and I think somewhat of an appealing game for fantasy purposes. Mitchell Robinson, obviously out here for a little bit. I believe it was a fractured thumb. Isaiah Hartenstein should slide into the starting lineup. He's 3K flat. He's a guy that we've seen in the past put up some pretty big fantasy scores. I think he's in play. Julius Randle, price is down on him a little bit. He was up over 10K. Now he's down to 9.8. Should benefit a little bit from Mitchell Robinson being out. Maybe a few more rebounds heading his way. RJ Barrett, the minutes are back for him. Played 49 against Toronto in an overtime game, 37 last time out. He's been productive. And the one thing for sure that stands out, the shots, 23 shots, 21 shot attempts in his last 2 games. I think he's in play at 6.5. And then Brunson, I mean, the price is getting up there, but man, I've been playing him all season. It is warranted. Like, he's played phenomenal. 8.6 might be a little bit tough to get to on this slate, but those other 3 guys I really like. And then on the Hawks side, see some good price tags over there. Trae Young under 10K at 9.4. DeJounte Murray all the way down to 7.8K. John Collins 5.5K. This game I really like, and I want pieces of, and I like, if you're hand building teams, getting some Knicks and Hawks together on the same team. You got the big total here around 230 and a close spread. JT, I mean, this is your squad, the Atlanta Hawks. I know Tony Snell is no longer on the roster, but what sort of info do you got for us here in this game?
It's really interesting because the Hawks have been playing very, very well, but they've also been playing a much tighter rotation. So I'll start with the Hawks side. I mean, 7,800 for DeJounte Murray. He's taking between 15 and 21 shots a game. And this has been a point to attack against the Knicks. So I like that price point for him. You've got Trae, who's going to be back, but even the last game with Trae in, he had a big game that was against Toronto. So DeJounte, a really good play at 7,800. You mentioned Collins at 5,500. Clint Capella hasn't been starting because he's been coming back from injury, but the minutes have been ticking up a little bit. At 5,400, if Capella starts, he to me becomes one of the more interesting plays of the slate, because at that price point, if I think he's going to get 28 to 30 minutes against Isaiah Hartenstein and Jericho Sims and maybe Obi Toppin, I mean, that's a damage spot for Clint Capella. So I like that quite a bit if he starts. On the Knicks side, I think you have to weigh what the real impact of Mitchell Robinson missing is. Sure, it's more minutes for someone, but really how much usage does that come with him being out? And the reality is it's not all that much. The biggest thing here, as you mentioned, is the prices being down on RJ Barrett at 6,500, Randall coming down to 9,800. And I'm a little concerned because it hasn't always been Hartenstein that started. They have started Sims. I remember there was a slate the last time Mitchell Robinson missed a game. We all already had Hartenstein plugged in, and like late, the Knicks announced starters late, and it's Jericho Sims. The other thing is Obi Toppin has been out. He's not been playing big minutes, but now you've got him back, and they like him more than they like the other two guys. So I think the center situation for the Knicks is a little bit less clear-cut than it would appear.
All right, very good. Like that call there. DC, what do you got here in the Knicks-Hawks game?
Yeah, it is interesting. Missing Mitchell Robinson, that's a big blow to the Knicks defense. I also think they're likely to play a little bit faster. I think you could see Julius Randle play some 5 here, which would pick up the pace of this game a little bit. And yeah, I mean, both these teams playing very, very tight rotations, which could potentially even get tighter tonight with no Mitchell Robinson, depending on what the Knicks decide to do. But the Hawks played 9 guys last game, but Jalen Johnson only played 5 minutes. So really was an 8-man rotation. He didn't even get in the first half. And now you potentially take Bogdanovic out of the rotation. He's questionable to play in this game. So if he misses, all of a sudden you've got, where all the minutes are going for the Hawks. You get nice discounts on both DeJounte Murray and John Collins, right? Collins is a guy, just a very, very volatile player where you really want to play him when his price just comes down, right? After a few bad games, because you never know when he's going to pop up. But I do think he's got some pretty big upside as a player. So I like him a little bit at 5,500. DeAndre Hunter got in foul trouble last game, so he only played 25 minutes. But prior to that, 33, 37, 34, 37 minutes for him. He's 4,800 and, could potentially be in line for even more if Bogdanovic does miss. So I think that potentially is some news that will go a little bit overlooked because he comes off the bench, right? So it's not going to change the Hawks starting lineup. And when the starting lineup doesn't change, I don't think people react properly to the changing minutes and usage. But Bogdanovic is a big piece of this team. So I will be watching that news. And if he's out, I think you can go to multiple pieces on both sides of this one. So kind of a sneaky game here, I think.
Yeah, definitely like this one. 7:30 Eastern game should get that news. If Bogdanovic is in, he's only 5K too, and he's been playing like 30 minutes. So, pretty important news on the slate. Like I said, 30 minutes after lock, so should have the news by then. Reminder, please do us that favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. We have the Heat and the Mavericks, 218 total in this game. The Heat favored by 2. On the Dallas side, no Christian Wood. Pretty substantial news there. On the Heat side, pretty much back to full strength for the most part, it looks like. And their team, when at full strength, I don't absolutely love. The price points for these guys are decent. Like Tyler Hero all the way down to 6'7". Kyle Lowry down to 5'1". I could get behind that. Jimmy Butler 8'3". So they brought the price tags like way down on these guys. Somewhat interesting. On the Dallas side, Luka pretty much the only guy for the most part that can play on the Dallas side, but he is all the way up there at 12-4. Don't necessarily love spending the 12-4 on him in the spot against Miami. DC, go to you first. Miami, Dallas. Thoughts here?
Yeah, I somehow never get Luka right, which is difficult to do for a guy that seems to put up 60-plus fantasy points every night. But when I jump on board, I was on him that last game. I think that was Wednesday, where he disappointed. No Christian Wood is going to change things for this Dallas team a little bit. Already down, Maxi Kleber So they're really down to just two guys. I think only two guys that can play center on this team. Dwight Powell, who's presumably going to start there, and then JaVale McGee, who will come off the bench, plays just a couple minutes most games. But, I mean, Dwight Powell, he's been on this team a long time. They do not like to play him big minutes, right? It seems like he's pretty much capped at 30 and oftentimes a lot fewer minutes than that. And Miami's going to have Bam Adebayo out there, right? And then either Dedmon or Orlando Robinson. So they do play a true center out there for all 48 minutes. I think Dallas will have to match. So I think a potential sneaky play. It comes with a lot of risk for sure, but I do like these, when you get a couple big men out, a couple centers out, and you kind of think that 2 3K guys, McGee and Powell, are both 3K even. And I think there's a pretty good chance those two combine for 48 minutes. Who gets more is hard to say. JaVale McGee still produces on a per minute basis when he's out there. He just doesn't get the minutes. I think he'll play 20 minutes in this game. Could be wrong, but that's what I've got him projected for at 3K, and I think low ownership. I do think he's worth a flyer in GPPs. It's, again, a risky play, but we're trying to get to the top of a tournament. We're trying to beat thousands of other teams. So that's a risk that I'm willing to take. Obviously, you can play Luka. I'm not going to do it tonight, which means he'll go out for the people that do. And then, I guess like Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, I'm seeing him come in as a top 5 owned play on this entire slate. I get it. He's going to play big minutes and he's super cheap, 3,800, but he is not an exciting DFS play, right? You're probably not getting 30 out of him. And I know he's cheap, but to win a tournament, it's hard to win it without, all of your roster contributing at least 25. So as a chalk play, I think there's a case to be made for him as a fade too. But most likely I'm going to end up with some JaVale McGee, and I'll cross my fingers on my tournament teams.
Finney-Smith seems like a fine cash game play. He's cheap. Yeah. He's going to have to play minutes. He'll grind out probably 20, 25 fantasy points for you, and it wouldn't be enough to win a GPP. So I think
true definition there of a good cash play tonight, but maybe not a good tournament play.
Yep. JT, what do you got here? Heat, Mavs.
Yeah, kind of the same thing, right? I think it's Powell, almost obviously, that gets the majority of the minutes that's going to be allotted between he and McGee. McGee is really, and lately he's only been playing a few minutes, as DC said, but you think they usually cap him at somewhere between 12 and 18 minutes. So figure that Powell gets to 25, and you look at the game logs against Miami where he's been dealing with Bam Adebayo, nothing less than 15 and 123 and a 34-point fantasy game. So it's certainly an interesting pivot where there's, I think, a little more certainty there for the reasons that DC said. Then you have with the Knicks situation where really I think the guy to play because Robinson is out is Randall, and maybe avoid those 3K centers. So outside of that, look, I mean, it's not as tight a rotation as you would want in Miami. Bam at 8,400. Kyle Lowry at 5,100. I think there's probably other plays here because there's definitely guard plays with rotations that are more condensed because of injury. But as you mentioned, the prices on Miami are pretty cheap. It's just the game environment is probably one that's going to be slow paced and difficult for some guys to reach their ceilings.
Yep. All right, keep it moving. We got the Clippers. We got the Spurs, 231 total. Clippers favored by 7 in this game. And Clippers, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup tonight. Neither price is all that appealing. San Antonio is a team I'm just not getting to all that often, and kind of like the Magic for me, where I just don't play them all that often. Works out pretty well usually. The only guy I typically go to is Pirtle, and I think you can do that tonight if you want. But this game is going to be a fade for me. I'll stick with you, JT. Any interest here? Clippers, Spurs?
Yeah, there's really only two guys, and I don't know that I get to them. Zubac is 5,500 for the Clippers, but the minutes have been pretty volatile there. This whole rotation has been pretty volatile, especially with Kawhi and PG back. And then Zach Collins for the Spurs, down to 3,800, and they haven't been playing Pirtle big minutes because it seems like they're looking to trade him. So they're trying to keep their asset healthy. But again, like I said, I don't think that I'm going to get to any of those guys, but they're at least would keep them in the player pool if you wanted to differentiate.
Yeah. DC, any interest here?
Not a lot. I'm not paying the 10-3 price tag for Kawhi or the 9-1 price tag for Paul George when both are healthy. It's just we haven't seen it very often. They obviously, cut into each other's production tremendously, maybe more than two other stars in the league. So that you're paying, top of the market prices for those guys when most of the time when those guys play, the other is out. So when they're in there together, despite the really good matchup, right? Spurs are arguably the best matchup in the league, but I'm still not paying that price for either guy. I'm with you. I think the big men, Pirtle, Zubac, Collins would be the three guys I'd look at, but still, like JT said, probably not going to end up on them myself, even though I do think they're decent plays.
All right. Do us that favor again. Hit the like button. What are we at? We got about 6:30 watch. Ooh, all right. We got to go to JT on this one. 6:30 watching, 193 likes. Talk to the people.
I mean, it's interesting. You guys bitch and moan when we're always talking about the likes. It's Friday. We love the Friday show. We love the people that come in. I've even got my goddamn code up as my name, JTHayes 15, the only discount code that works at Run Pure Sports. Everything else is going to charge you more, if you guys haven't heard. And you can't even just do it on your own. Can't even hit you've been watching these shows for 3 years, and we come in here, and you're not even at like 20%. I mean, we're getting there now. 217. I would say 6:30 watching. Man, I've been going in the threes lately, but that number is so hurtful. I'm going to go 400. And if for some reason you entertain us with funny comments in the chat, then maybe we'll lower that number. But really, you've been very boring today, and you need to pick it up. Pick the likes up. Pick the good comments up. Use code JTHayes15. If you're not a member, get 15% off your first month. Remember, that's the only code that works.
I like setting the bar high, and then if they impress, then we bring it down. I like that strategy. Let's see how it works. So as of now, it's 400. So get to work, folks. If you want the plays of the day, I mean Eiffel Tower, mom's basement.
Yeah.
Wow.
JT with the genius marketing move, putting this promo code as his name. Man, I gotta get on the ball.
4 more games to go. We got the Pacers. We got the Nuggets. 237.5. Nuggets favored by 8.5, but that could change if Mr. Jokic is ruled out, downgraded to questionable earlier in the day, and would be slate changing news. I think it's definitely news that you're going to want to wait for if possible. This is 9 Eastern start time, 2 hours after lock. The backload is definitely worthy here for probably the MVP of the league. If he's in, he's a great spend at 11.6. If he's out, we got to look to some of these other guys, specifically Jamal Murray at 6'6", Aaron Gordon at 6'1", even potentially Porter Jr. at 5'3". If he's out, I think it brings some of these Pacers guys back into the conversation a little bit more. Nembhard, Miles Turner would be guys I want to play. So for me, very important. We need this news though, for sure. Probably don't have it at lock, but when you go to build teams, like I said, I think you want to backload if possible to wait for it. DC, I'll go to you. What are you thinking here, Pacers, Nuggets?
Yeah, obviously the biggest news on the slate here. I kind of think he'll play. I mean, at home, I know he's added to the injury report, but he barely misses games. And for someone who moves like Jokic, I don't know. He can probably play on a little bit of a sore hamstring, right? Like, I don't think it's not like sprinting or like, flying through the air with a spectacular dunk.
Exactly.
So I kind of expect him to be in there, but yeah, who knows? Obviously, if he's in, always a top play. I do prefer him, I think, as a top spend over Luka tonight. If he's in, I really wouldn't have any concern about the hamstring, assuming he plays. So yeah, I think he's a great play if he's in, and probably most people aren't. Usually what you see is a questionable player like this. Yeah, maybe, people aren't putting in as replacements, but they usually just kind of avoid the player that himself is questionable. So I do think his ownership will be lower than it will be lower than it was if he wasn't on the injury report as well. So at all. So that does make Jokic a pretty good play. If he sits, yeah, I mean, we're getting discounts on some of these Denver guys anyway. I mean, Jamal Murray, 6,600 for him. He's a better player than that, even with Jokic, right? Like, you wouldn't even be I wouldn't be upset to be stuck with Jamal Murray at that price point, even if he plays. So, yeah, he's an awesome play, especially obviously if Jokic sits. Bruce Brown, 4,600 for him. That's, again, a perfectly reasonable price tag, even if Jokic is in there. Same with Porter, Aaron Gordon. All these guys are too cheap and a really, really good matchup against Indiana. So I do think you want some exposure to this team. You'll be okay, probably, even if Jokic plays. But if he sits, yeah, you're going to want a bunch of these Denver guys who actually takes Jokic's minutes. Will be interesting to see. At the beginning of the year, they were playing a lot of DeAndre Jordan as his backup, but they have since moved to Zeke Naji, who has gotten the majority of the minutes behind Jokic. Pretty good player. I like what I've seen from him. And obviously, nobody can replicate what Jokic does. The offense has to completely change. But I do think Naji, would get the start. Although Mike Malone, who knows? He might give DeAndre Jordan the veteran start there. But regardless, my preference between the two, no matter who starts, would be Zeke Naji for Denver at that center spot if Jokic does indeed sit. And then Indiana side, yeah, obviously we've seen a few games without Tyrese Halliburton, and we've seen big performances first from TJ McConnell, and then last game it was Andrew Nembhard who finally made some shots, put up nearly 40 fantasy points. I think both guys are in play. It is a situation where I'm probably playing one or the other. I think it's pretty close between the two. It'll be Nembhard starting, McConnell coming off the bench. I actually think I lean Nembhard, but no problem with anyone that would want to go McConnell in that situation. And then, Miles Turner, I think certainly a decent play. You can go to a guy like Buddy Hield if you want to. And another game that if Jokic is out, you can easily stack this one up, get all the main pieces from it, and potentially have a pretty nice lineup.
Donovan Mitchell just ruled out, so that does definitely change the dynamic of that game. Covered it pretty well. I think it brings all those guys into the play. Even like Garland, Mobley, Allen, Levert, I think all in play now.
That's what I was saying, and then exactly who to run it back with on Golden State if you want to go for it. So the game just become way more interesting. I think
way more interesting. I think that's definitely something to take note of. There was a comment in here before I throw it to JT. Before you talk about this game, Jake Swale says, I don't think I've ever seen a white man's bald head be so shiny. Now, are non-white bald heads shinier than white bald heads? Is that what he's insinuating? You have had the shaved head for a while, I'm assuming. Can you give me some insight on that? Then talk to me about this game.
Yeah. Jake Swales, first of all, thank you for viewing us. Thank you for watching. He's been watching quite a bit lately, so thank you for that. I hope you hit the like. I hope my head is entertaining enough that you decided to pop the like button, use your thumb or your index finger. And listen, Jake, here's the answer, right? Thank you for watching. I don't know the answer to that question, but what I do know is that if you use code JTHayes15, you're going to get 15% off of your first month's membership at Run Pure Sports. You can do DFS or bets. The code works both ways. So go ahead. Courtesy of me, thank you for your viewership. I'm going to give you 15% off. King of Smack.
Like I handled that,
yeah. King of Smack is also a regular viewer, and he asked the question, what about Gabe Vincent? And as DC would say, don't play Gabe Vincent.
Yeah, not the slate for Gabe Vincent.
Yeah.
The Heat are back to like full strength and everything.
Yeah, and so now we got this Cleveland news, and so let me talk about this game here, right? Historically, midday downgrade usually means a player is out. With Denver recently, I don't know why. I don't know what they're doing. They've been doing this like every day. Jamal Murray was a midday downgrade half an hour before lock. Hey, he's better. He's playing, and he smashed. So since it's Jokic, since it's a hamstring, since it's the fact that they're taking on the Pacers, and they've just been, really beating the brakes off of most teams, I think this is a situation where you probably are going to see it run true where, he is going to be ruled out. Look, in that case, and I'll let you guys opine. So if that's the case, maybe Zeke Naji, Jordan's going to start, but Naji probably gets more minutes. But we know that we like bigs, athletic bigs against the Indiana Pacers. Aaron Gordon at just 6,100 seems to me like he would be the one of the best plays on the slate. Michael Porter Jr., he's coming in, I think, 5,300. You guys talked about Murray at 6,600. And it becomes a slate where I'm not going to fuck with Rick Carlisle's rotations, because at that point, you can literally boil this down to playing guys from 3 or 4 teams. the Knicks, the Hawks, the Cavs, the Nuggets, and maybe Dallas. Maybe if you wanted to go to Memphis in a good matchup, fine. But you've got all of this injury information that's going to condense a lot of those rotations and give you enormous upside with some of those plays. So I'm going to avoid the bigger rotations like the Pacers, probably like Miami. I'll let you guys kind of talk about it. And whoa. Hold on a second, Big. This needs to be addressed before we talk.
That's why I wanted to make sure while you had the floor, you addressed the comment on the screen as well.
So Big Nick, first of all, nothing tells people that you lack self-esteem other than creating a name like that. But because you insulted me, that's just because you insulted me. But I'll have you know, I've been bald. So when I was younger, I worked for the government. I was a federal law enforcement agent, and one of the guys I worked with was older, and he noticed that I was losing the hair a little bit up top, and he was like, "You better get married because once you're bald, women aren't going to want you." And I'm like, "You're such a dick." So I ended up shaving my head off at maybe 26, 27. I'll be honest with you, Big Dick Nick. Nothing could be further from the truth than your little comment there. Now I am married now, but as I said, it's always nice to look. So thank you, Big Dick Nick. Yeah. By the way, I know you remember. Go ahead and add the bets package. Use code JTHayes15 for 15%.
I feel like it's like a in though at this point because you get the women that'll come up and say, "Hey, let me rub your head," and like that's a good starting point. Like they don't come up to the guys with like normal haircuts and say, "Let me rub your head." If you have a shaved head, though, it's like kind of inviting for the ladies, and they want to get a feel. So it's their first step to the workbench there. So
the people are now actually attacking him, which I mean means all right, Big Nick, we're done with you, guys. So what do you think? Because we got to get back to the basketball for the people that are hitting the like button. Actually, 312. We're on our way to 400. Yeah. Once again, code JTHayes15. What do you guys think? I mean, we can literally play guys from like 4 teams tonight.
Yeah, and now, I mean, the Pelicans guys got a little more appealing. Najee Marshall out, Trey Murphy in. So like your Larry Nance call, your Valanciunas call. I mean, they all become more appealing as well. So
Herb Jones is in there too, though. So he's been out.
Herb Jones in, Najee Marshall out, right? Yeah. So
and Herb is just 4,500, I think.
Yes. So interesting nugget, and that's right at the start there at 7 Eastern. So all right, 3 more games. Got the Nets and the Jazz, 231.5 total here in this one. Utah favored by 5.5. This is a game that not too much really stands out to me. Kyrie at 9.9. If you want to go there, that's fine. On the Nugget side, the price tags, like just nothing is all that appealing to me. You got Kessler on his way up, Markkanen at 9.5K. I can't do that. Not a ton of interest here for me in this one. DC, I'll toss it to you. Any Nets or Jazz for you?
I think I'm mostly off it. I mean, Kyrie would be the play from the Nets. He's really the only guy I want. But we saw it last night. Like this team has a deep arsenal of role players, but you don't know who it's going to be from night to night. But with Durant out, I mean, Kyrie. I mean, he's capable of putting up 60 fantasy points on any night. So good matchup, or pretty good matchup here against Utah. He would be the only option for me on Brooklyn on this slate. Utah side, I mean, I don't mind staying on the Walker Kessler train. This dude, like as a long-suffering Timberwolves fan,
I mean, just the worst. I mean, it's got to be like so bad.
This guy's already better than Rudy Gobert. Like, don't. Forget the 10 years of age difference. The fact that Gobert is making like $40 million a year for the next 5 years. The fact that Kessler's on a rookie deal. The fact that they shipped out like 7 draft picks and 4 other. I mean, like Jared Vanderbilt's like a good player, that they shipped out with him.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley, good role player. Like if they would have just kept Kessler and all the draft picks, like that with Edwards and Kessler.
Dude, it's that style of play will never win if you have that guy in your roster, you're not winning. If you have a Rudy, I mean, I've battled with people for years and years and years, dating back to the old company that we worked at. Andre Drummond, I would talk about him every show. I was like, the guy he scores 50 fantasy points a night. There is a difference between fantasy points scored and going out and winning basketball games. That style of play, Andre Drummond, Rudy Gobert, if those guys are on your roster, you are never winning shit, okay? And it's like so obvious. And it's just frustrating that, I mean, Gobert sucks. Like, having him on your roster is a negative.
Especially when he's getting paid so much. And the NBA, you can only pay so many guys that big money. So painful as a Wolves fan. The Jazz, though, I mean, talk about reigniting your rebuild, shipping out Gobert, Donovan Mitchell. Now you got all these draft picks. You got a guy to build around in Kessler. And then you got the Lauri Markkanen breakout, which I'll be honest, I had a hard time kind of buying into that all year long. I mean, if you've ridden him up from what he probably started at, $5K to start the year, all the way to 9,500, and it's justified. You made a lot of money riding the Lauri Markkanen trade. I'm not saying I've done it myself, but at this point, I believe it. But it's still hard to pay 9,500 for him. So it's just like I don't know what to do there. I'm probably not going to Markkanen. I think Kessler is the guy that I'm most interested at 5,700. Obviously, Brooklyn a little bit shorthanded. It's in Utah. I don't know. I mean, he's putting up 40 fantasy points a game over the last 4 games, despite not even that huge of minutes. I mean, he could potentially get even more minutes than he's played so far. There's been, just the last game was a blowout. He would have played more than 28 minutes in that one if it wasn't. So, 5,700 for Kessler. I kind of throw him in the Valanciunas / Wendell Carter grouping at center, where can't find that many players at that price point who you can legitimately – you get to this game and you've got a good team, you could legitimately hope for 40, 45 points out of Kessler. Not that many players at 5,700 you could say that about. So he's the main guy from this game for me.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, you're looking at probably 30 minutes for him. Production's been great. 41, 37, 57, 38 fantasy points. I mean, he's paid it off in 4 straight.
And this is a good matchup too. So
definitely like that call. Yeah, now that you said that, he'll be my favorite play in this game for sure. JT, any interest here? Nets, Jazz?
Yeah, just a note on this Lauri breakout. I mean, what does that say for how truly awful the coaching has been in Chicago? I mean,
just brutal.
Just kind of amazing. But people in chat are wanting to play Lauri. He's fine. He's 9,500. He's at the top of his price range. But if you just go $300 more, you get Julius Randle. So I think for me, it's a choice there, and I think I'd rather have Randle here. A lot of our guys had Kyrie last night. I only had him in a couple of lineups, and that was pretty frustrating to watch because if he actually tried to play the game of basketball in the first half, then they actually could have won that game. So you really don't know which Kyrie you're going to get here on a back-to-back. 9,900. I guess I'd leave him in the player pool, but probably not that much interest. And then, like DC said, I mean, 5,700 for a guy that now is playing big minutes. We saw what DeAndre Ayton did last night against this Nets team without Kevin Durant. I think it's a pretty good spot for him. So, I think you can go to him as well.
Yep. All right. 2 more games. So make sure you get those likes up. We're sitting at people have responded, 337. So they've responded to JT's request. 2 more games, though. They could potentially go quick. So make sure you hit that like to get Eiffel Tower play of the day and Mom's Basement, same day, like same show. Like, fuck, man, I can't imagine missing out on that. Grizzlies, Lakers, big boy total here, 244.5. Memphis favored by 5.5. Memphis, pretty tough team right now just because they're at basically full strength. And when they're at full strength, they have a lot of bodies. You can always play Ja Morant. The price is down a little bit, I'd say. 9.6K, so under 10K for him. Probably the only guy, though, really on the Memphis side that I consider playing. And then on the Lakers, LeBron's listed as questionable. I mean, I'm assuming that he plays tonight. If he does play, I think he's a fine spend. I mean, he's been 60-plus fantasy points in 4 straight games. The minutes have been up there, mid to upper 30s. So totally fine play. And, I mean, really a great pivot. So let's say you put Jokic in there. You're going to kind of backload a little bit. You put Jokic in, and then Jokic gets ruled out. You still have that spend you want to go to. You can just pivot right to LeBron. They're only $300 difference, so make sure you have them in the right spots. But LeBron's center eligible too, so you can just do a direct pivot there if you wanted. So I'd be good with LeBron. If LeBron's out, then obviously like Westbrook and some of these other guys come in the conversation. But I think LeBron plays. I don't think it was anything too serious. He said like a sore left ankle. But again, it is a big piece of news to monitor throughout the night. JT, I'll toss it over to you. Grizzlies, Lakers. What do you got here?
Yeah, this is a situation where LeBron's on the report every day, and he's been playing almost every day. We have gotten the news when LeBron is going to miss generally earlier. So, you can't say that that'll be the case tonight, but I agree with your assessment that he probably is in. And look, Memphis fully healthy, also very, very good against a team that defensively is not very, very good. And the prices are down a little bit. The challenge with Memphis is you just never know who's going to have the upside game. Is it going to be Desmond Bane? Is it going to be Jackson? Steven Adams is a little bit too cheap here in this matchup, 5,800 against the rotating centers now of Bryant and Wenyen Gabriel. So Adams is in there as a little bit too cheap. Dylan Brooks, who we hate to play because he's just a shooter, and the shot has to be on in order for him to hit. But he is now down under 5K. 4,800 for a guy that's probably going to take 15 to 20 shots against the Lakers. Probably more in play before we got all this news, but definitely still in play here. And like you said, Ja always with the upside. And then on the Lakers, it's really, I can't play Russ coming off the bench at 8,800. This is not the slate to do that. So LeBron, even I looked at Schroeder's price, 4,900 on DraftKings, but his usage with LeBron in there is just so low. So more focused, maybe pieces of this Memphis team. And I probably would limit it to just one Memphis guy in a lineup.
Yep. I like that call. DC, any interest here? Grizzlies, Lakers?
Pretty much the same thoughts as you guys. But I mean, this game does have a 243 total. And you do know where most of the production is going to come from. So if you do want to make a contrarian play, you want the late night hammer. I mean, Ja Morant, LeBron in the same lineup, going to be super contrarian, I think, tonight. But yeah, if this game stays close and you get, upper 30s minutes from both those guys, yeah, absolutely, they could get there. Even a little bit of a discount on Ja Morant, 9,600. That's his cheapest price point, pretty close to his cheapest price point all season in about the best possible matchup you could have. So I do like Morant there. LeBron's been on fire. I have no problem paying that 11.3 price tag for him if it works out. And then the other guy I do like from Memphis is Jaren Jackson Jr. This guy's averaging nearly 5 blocks per 36 minutes rather. Like, Memphis is so good, they blow a lot of teams out. So sometimes he loses his minutes. He also gets in foul trouble going for all those blocks at times. So the minutes fluctuate. But if he's playing well and the game is close and he's not in foul trouble, he will get the low to mid 30s minutes in those situations. And I do think he is a player who really does benefit from the lack of defense that the Lakers play. He's not a guy that's going to do a lot of creating on his own no matter what, but when there's open spaces, right, he's catching lobs from Ja Morant. He's getting blocks because both teams are running in transition. I think Jaren Jackson Jr., who has tremendous upside, I think will go very overlooked tonight, but I think this could be a game where you see 40 plus out of him.
Yeah, I like that. It got to be pretty low owned too. I mean, I can't imagine many people are going there. So good low owned play. One more game, and we need about, good job. We need about 43 likes. So 43 away from the plays of the day. And there's going to be no wiggle room today, just so you guys know. Once this game's over, if we're not at 4 bills, we'll be shutting it down. Even though it is Friday. Huh?
They've been entertaining, but they have to keep the entertainment up. They kind of slowed down a little bit. A little bit. So.
Yeah, there was some good. I mean, most of the entertainment revolved around your bald, shiny head. So, I mean, someone said you're more aerodynamic. I wanted to find the comment, but said, where is
more aerodynamic on the bench. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. Having a bald head makes you more aerodynamic when putting it down on the bench. Is that true?
I don't know how much it plays into it. I think when I was younger, the sleekness, the fact, listen, not everybody can pull this look off, so it takes having a perfectly shaped skull. So, I mean, you guys want to talk about not having hair. I have a perfectly shaped skull. I mean, there's a lot of people who can't pull this off. DC, I think you said, well, you had to do it once. We remember why that happened. But you said you really couldn't do it because you don't like the way that your head looks.
Yeah. I got a good story for that. I shaved my head one time, and when was it? It was junior year of high school for basketball. Everyone on the team wanted to shave their head before the season started. So
how did mom feel about that?
My mom looked at me and she said, "You are never doing that again." She's like, "It looks terrible." So she said she shut it down right away. She said, "You do not have the head shape for a shaved head." And it wasn't all the way down. It was maybe down to like a 1 or something, but it looked awful. I got to see if I can dig up a picture. Maybe I'll bring it next Friday to the show and we can post it on here if I can find the picture. But man, yeah, I got to see if I can find it. I'll see if my mom can dig it up. She might have burned all the shaved head photos because she said never again. She's like, it looks really bad on you. So that's my shaved head story.
I came home with an ear piercing, and my mother had promised that if I did it, she was going to rip it out of my ear. And she came damn near close. She was really close to coming at me, but luckily she.
JT, I wouldn't have put you down for a man that had a pierced ear one time. I'll say that.
I did
for one of those. Would you put Hoop down as one of those people?
I would also guess no on Hoop.
That is incorrect.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was not my proudest moment. I'll tell you that. Another thing that shockingly looked like shit.
You had lost your way for however long that time was.
It was what did we do? It was high school spring break, and we thought it would be cool to get our ear. I'll tell you another embarrassing thing too. Not only did I have both the ears, but I had like the top part too.
No.
It was
dude.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yep.
That's a tough look.
That's the reaction I was expecting, but I got to be honest. Now that we've opened up this conversation, did not have the nose ring. Definitely did not have the nose ring. I promise you that.
I'll be honest. I actually think slightly less of both of you. Knowing about the season.
What do you mean? Why would you think less of us? That's hurtful.
Piercing your ears? Come on, guys. You're better than that.
I was 17, 16. I didn't know any better.
Yep. I think I was 16 when I did it. It was short-lived. Does that help at all, DC? I didn't keep them in for long. It was not a long-term thing.
Yeah, you came to your senses. You're a smart guy.
Very quickly. Okay, yeah, these comments are actually good. Wow. I'd put that at. Yeah, see, Holden, he knows it's kind of shocking.
Let's go. 12 more.
Of course, Holden had an earring. That's why you know it's a bad choice. If Holden's willing to do it.
He said he couldn't get. He said he couldn't. Holden said he couldn't get laid with the shaved head.
Holden, speaking of Holden, remember use code JTHayes15 for 15% off. Spencer Smith says he could see DC with the bull ring and painted black nails. Honestly, that's something I could see too.
I could see you going through a goth phase. DC, is that legit or no?
Dressing in only black.
The only change I've made to my look in my 37 years on this planet is growing this mustache last year.
You'd have to get the black Kansas City hat because it was the only thing that would fit the rest of his wardrobe.
I do like Holden. I saw him tweet the other day that he was blaming his lack of getting laid in high school on his mullet. Now he's blaming it on the shaved head.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Holden, neither of those are the issue.
Yeah. You got to do some deeper diving there, Holden, to figure out the
look inward, my friend.
I just love that Holden watches. I mean, I think it's fantastic. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, we do appreciate the support, Holden. You want to come on and close out the show for us?
Company man.
No. The good thing is that conversation basically got us home on the likes. So people must appreciate the honesty from us here. So we got the Thunder Kings 242.5 total. Sacramento favored by 4.5. Sabonis is going to be in. He's 10.5, pretty expensive. De'Aaron Fox at 8.2. Don't hate that price tag. Really though, those are the only two guys on the King side, and then on the Thunder side. It's also pretty clear, the plays. SGA, Giddey, and then maybe Lou Dort, who's been kind of hot lately, taking some more shots, back-to-back really solid games. The price is reasonable for him, probably better suited for game stack type scenarios. So 5 plays for me in this one. DC, any Thunder or Kings for you?
The Thunder quietly playing some pretty good basketball. I think they've won 4 straight. 6 out of the last 7, and the one loss was a 1-point loss.
Did you see the stat? I think they've covered at the highest rate in the NBA. It's like 67% or something. And
they got some play. I mean, we all know what SGA can do. Josh Giddey has been absolutely tearing it up. I think he's a great, pairing with kind of a scoring guard like SGA. And then don't sleep on Jalen Williams, the perimeter guy, right? There's 2 Jalen Williams, but you want the guy, he's point guard, small forward, 5,200. He's been really good in 3 of the last 4 games. Their rookie first-round pick. I've been really impressed with what he's done. And then, Lou Dort coming on strong. So with a team, they have no big men whatsoever, right? Like this is a very perimeter-oriented team. That could work against the Kings, who play fast, whose best player is the big. So I actually like Sabonis here. I mean, this guy's ripping down 15, 16 rebounds a game. Who's he going to be going up against here? Muscala and Darius Bazley. Like I think this could be potentially a big game for Sabonis. And then on the other side, I like those 4 guys for OKC: SGA, Giddey, Jalen Williams, and Lou Dort. I think all of them are a play. I don't think I would play all of them in the same lineup, but because there's no injuries here, right? I think most people, including myself, typically kind of write off OKC. But the way they're playing, this is a team I'm always or have been worried about kind of pulling their guys due to tanking issues. They're playing so well right now that when your team's winning this amount of games, right, 7 out of the last 8, whatever it is, you can't do that. You got to let them play if they've got a chance to secure another win, keep the winning streak alive. So I think OKC a little bit sneaky here, and I think Sabonis is a really strong run back on the other side. So maybe a little bit of a sneaky game here.
All right, JT, wrap it up for us. Final thoughts here on the Kings and Thunder.
Yeah, this situation with Oklahoma City has been fascinating to watch because we went from this massive rotation where you never knew who was playing to all of a sudden their last 8 games, they've beaten Washington, Dallas, Philadelphia, Chicago, the Nets. And this team is all of a sudden pretty good, and that's meant that rotation has now condensed quite a bit. So it's an interesting spot. I think I'm just a little bit more interested in these other spots where we have some injury news, but agree with everything DC said here. Jalen, not Jalen Williams, has been playing very well. Giddey just smashing between 40 and 50 fantasy points, and I think every single one of his last 6 or 7 games. Then you got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander priced down. On the other side, for me, it's really just Fox and Sabonis. And if I was playing guys for this game, it would probably be just a max of 2 and only 1 from each team, just because of what I like from these other situations that are going to be very, very condensed.
All right, that will do it for the 9-game analysis here on Friday night. A fun show, obviously, and you guys did the job and got 408 likes. You can continue to hit that, but it is ironic though. The Hoop and JT pierced earring story is kind of when we hit the 400 mark. So people, maybe we should bring it back next week, JT. Some pierced ears.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see that, but we'll definitely have. We'll definitely have story time once again. People seem to.
I'm sure I'll make a very stupid bet at some point with JT that involved me getting my ear pierced.
Oh, come on! Find the lock for it. Come on, JT, find the lock for us. You got to find the lock.
I mean, DC, you still haven't cut off one of your fingers, so you still haven't paid me back from the last time.
I figure, I want the 2-for-1 discount when I go get my ear pierced. You can flop off the finger.
Keep the finger, and get your ear pierced. That seems like a pretty fair trade-off to me.
Yeah. All right, let's save it for baseball season.
Yeah, listen, he earned my respect for in eternally when he actually went through with shaving his head after the first bet. So there's. Yeah. We'll let the fact that you didn't remove one of your fingers slide.
We'll let it slide this time. It'd be funny. JT send some of his people your way. We gotta get that finger out. So you gotta pay up.
You owe us a digit. Come on.
All right, we got up to lock after this. JSU, Big T, Holden. You have to be a member at Run Pure. Make sure you get on over there. Hoop 15 works better than I heard. JTHayes 15. So you can get in there with a Hoop 15 promo code.
Hoops code definitely doesn't work. Hoops code. You want to use that? You want to use that at the bank because then they just give you all of his rich parents' money. So you use that at your local bank. JTHayes 15 is what gets you 15% off here. Any package, by the way. You can do bets, save
Any
us some
package,
money
that is true.
DFS. Just go ahead, get after it.
You know how I know it's any package? Because I'm the one that set it up, and I know that the Hoop 15 happens to work a little bit better than the
well, listen, if you want DC to be able to afford his ear piercing, DC 15 will jump me up the leaderboard, get me a little closer to heading to the ear piercing place.
All right, plays of the day. You guys definitely earned them. It was a fun show. I'll go first with the rich parents play of the day, and we're going to the New York Knicks. Like the spot, like a few of their guys, but Mr. RJ Barrett is going to be the rich parents play of the day. Playing a lot of minutes, shooting the ball a ton, and the price tag is fair at 6.5K. So RJ Barrett, rich parents play of the day. Speaking of parents, we're going to head down to Mom's Basement for Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got for us, DC?
Yeah, we're going to head out west to a player. I think it'll be sub 5% ownership. Jaren Jackson Jr. Love this matchup for him against the Lakers. I think he's a very high upside player that you will get, almost all by yourself in a perfect matchup. So Jaren Jackson Jr., the Mom's Basement play of the day.
And lastly, the way we wrap up every Friday show, except when CDome is hammered and slamming wine for us. That was the one exception, the only day where we ended with a different play of the day. But this, we don't have CDome, and he is not slamming wine. Although if DC subs in again and shows up with a pierced ear, I think he might take the 3-hole here on the plays of the day. So that is another exception I'd be willing to make. But for tonight, we're hopping on that flight with Mr. JTHayes heading over to check out the Eiffel Tower. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, if DC shows up with a pierced ear or one less finger, then we will absolutely let him go last. But Clayton McLean, I like this. I like this a lot. This is a good challenge. It's great. It's good for all of us, but probably best for me. He says whoever's play of the day does the best over projection, he's going to use their code to sign up tonight. So Clayton, we're going to keep you honest.
Yes,
I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you 2. You can pick whichever one does the best, but
this is no.
Add a few more plays of the day that I was thinking about.
You guys be quiet for a second. So I said earlier that if there was a possibility that maybe he gets a few more minutes or starts, that I like this guy, one of the sneakier plays on the slate. Coach McMillan has come out and said Clint Capella's limits are going to be going up beginning tonight. Clint Capella is getting on that jet, going back closer to his homeland, wherever that is, 5,400 on DraftKings. If Nikola Jokic is ruled out, Aaron Gordon at 6,100, you play those guys together, they will end up in the winning lineup tonight.
Like that. Love it how you snuck in 2 plays once you realized you had a shot at another promo code. It's, in your defense, though, for the Eiffel Tower to be successful, you need 2 guys. You need 2 guys. You do need 2 guys. So, all right, that is going to do it here for the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood show. Like I said, got the guys taking you up to lock. JSU, Holden, and Big T. Hoop 15 is that promo code to get in and watch that show. Make sure to punch it in. It works better than any of the other codes that you've heard so far today. All jokes aside, though, get on over there, check it out. All sports, one price at Run Pure Sports gets you access to all our content, including the Up to Lock show with the guys. But that's going to do it here for DC, for JTHayes. I am Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest.